Chapter 7, Common Core. Identify the choice that best completes the statement or answer the question. Okay. Or answers the question. Off to a rip-roaring start. Problem 1. Find the length of one edge of a cube with a volume of 64. Well, if I give you a side and ask you to find the volume, you'd cube the side. If I give you the volume and ask you to find the side, you do the exact opposite of cube, and the exact opposite of cube is cube root. So the cube root of 64, what times what times what is 64? 4 times 4 is 16, times 4 is 64. Problem 2. Find the cube root of 27. Simple. What times what? What times what times what is 27? 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. Thus, and therefore, and concordingly, the answer is 3. A page a one, a done. Page a one, a done. A done. Madonna. Okay, second page. Is P all by itself? No, P is not all by itself. Let me see, what's attached to P? That's a cube. I kind of remember I said on the last page that the opposite of a cube is a cube root. So I guess in order to get rid of that cube, I have to cube root both sides. So that crosses the cube out. The cube root of 729 is 9. Fun. That wasn't so bad. This one, on the other hand, I'm not so sure. I'm going to try to do these without a calculator. Let's see how it goes. I think the first one is 2 to the 6th power. So 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, then 16, then 32, then 64. So 2 to the 6 is 64. 64. 9 times itself is 81. 11 times itself is 121. The cube root of 27, as we said in the last page, is 3. The cube root of 1,000 means what times what times what is 1,000. 10 times 10 is 100, times 10 again is 1,000. Which is the largest value? Looks like it's going to be 11 squared. Alright, problem 5, the first challenging problem that we see. This involves a little guy called Pythagorean Theorem. Pythagorean Theorem says, if you have a right triangle, then you can find any missing side of a right triangle by doing a squared plus b squared equals c squared, where c is the longest side of a right triangle. Now you might be thinking, I don't see a right triangle, I see a line. Ah, you do see a line. But what I see is a right triangle. Oh boy. Let's rewind that back. What was your question? Oh, you don't see a right triangle? Well, I do see a right triangle. All I have to do is draw a perfectly straight line like that one. I'm telling you, it's really hard to use this guy. Now, if you're like, okay, well, how do I measure how long those sides are? The picture really doesn't do it justice, but this guy right here, the length of that side is 2, because it's like 2 little blocks. And this guy, it may be better if you just look at it from this way. This guy goes from 2 to 7. So if you go from block 2 to block 7, that's a 5-block difference because 7 minus 2. So 7 minus 2 is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks. So what I have is now as ugly as it looks, a right triangle where the 2 smaller sides are 2 and 5, and I don't know the longest side. So if you're using Pythagorean Theorem, you're going to use A and B for any of the 2 smaller sides. A lot of people like to save A for the smallest side that they see, and that's fine. Then B is going to be 5, and then C is going to be D, because I don't know what D is. 2 squared is 4. 5 squared is 25. And D squared is D squared. D2 Mighty Ducks. Remember that? You probably don't. Unless you have Disney Plus, then you might. 29 is what you get when you add 4 and 25. That equals D squared. Is D all by itself? No. What's in the way? Squared. How do we get rid of a squared? Square rooted, of course. And the square root of 29 is going to be a little bit more than 5 and a little bit less than 6, and that leaves me with good old B. Good old B. Good old B. City A to city B to the nearest miles, so I need to find from A to B, which is that green line that I just created. So that is a right triangle. So I will write out Pythagorean Theorem, which gives me the missing side of a right triangle. Always label the longest side C, so I don't know what the longest side is. You can be little a, and you can be little b. So it'll be 5 squared plus 12 squared equals, I don't know, squared. 5 squared is 25. 12 squared is 144. C squared is C squared. 25 plus 144 is 169 equals C squared. Square root both sides. And C is 13. Pew pew. Easy. Remember we did Pythagorean Theorem in the last problem? Pythagorean Theorem is a little formula, looks like this, that helps you find the missing side of a right triangle. In the last problem that we had, we were able to make a right triangle and then find the missing side, which also happened to be the longest side. This problem is slightly different because the longest side is the side that we know. What we don't know is x, the height of the tree. But what we do know is that C is 18, the longest side. So when I plug stuff in to that formula over there, I could say 9 squared could be our A, 9 could be A, so 9 squared plus x squared. And then I, like I said, know what C is. C is 18. 18 squared. Okay? 9 squared is 81. Plus x squared equals 18 squared. Let me consult my internet, or better yet, my phone calculator. What did I say it was? 18 squared. 18 times 18. Oh my goodness, I keep hitting the wrong button. 18, I hit divided by there, times 18 is 324. Is x all by itself? No. What's in the way? 81. Let's get rid of you. Minus 81, minus 81. 324 minus 81, I believe, is 225. Right? No, 245. I knew that didn't look right. That would have been nice if it was 225. I guess wishful thinking. What did I say? 245? Or is it 243? Ugh. Is x all by itself? No. What's in the way? The square root is. So I can use my handy dandy calculator. By the way, if you have an iPhone like I do, it's probably backwards for you. It's going to be, if you tilt it to the side, it gives you all the fun, crazy things. So like square root. And so if I type out 243 and then hit the square root button, I get 15.5884, blah, 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 which is 15.6. And that's how tall our tree is. Our tall tree is 15.6 feet tall. Cool. Cool. Ice Cube used to write real raps. Well, I'm going to real rap you with a real problem. Did you know that big screen TVs, if you go buy like a 60-inch big screen TV and you're like, whoa, it's going to be 60 inches left to right, you're wrong. Did you know that big screen TVs are typically classified by the diagonal length? So it's not going to be 60 inches that way. It's going to be 60 inches that way, which means it's going to be even smaller than you thought. Gotcha. Gotcha. So that's fun. So you're getting ripped off every single time. Well, at least you think you are. If you know what you're doing. You're not really. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. What are you doing, you ask? Well, this is a right triangle, you see. And I don't know how long that diagonal right there is, you see. I'm calling that C because it's the longest side, you see. Let's try a different color because it's hard to read. You'll be my A, and you'll be my B, and you'll be my C. 30 squared plus 52 squared equals C squared. 30 squared is 900. 52 squared is 2,704. 2704. That's going to equal C squared. Add those two guys together, you get 3,604 equals C squared. If I divide both, not divide, if I square root both sides. Now, I don't have a calculator on me, but I don't really need one. I know, just make believe that that's just the square root of 36. The square root of 36 is 6. The square root of 3,600 would be 60. So the square root of something a little bit more than 3,600 is going to be a little bit more than 60, which means C is my answer. So, if you buy a 60-inch TV, it's actually only going to be 52 inches in length. Gotcha. Best Buy, gotcha. Sears, gotcha. Who else? AC Moore, gotcha. Gotcha. Oh, the distance from the shovel to the treasure chest is 50 yards, and the distance from the treasure chest to the boat is 40 yards. How far is the boat to the shovel? Oh, okay. All right. So I know you. So treasure to shovel is 50. That's supposed to say 50. And treasure to boat, I'm on a boat, is 40. And I don't know that length there in purple, so I'm going to call that C. So this is 50. Just like the last problem, I picked the wrong colors. That's 40. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. I'll let 40 be A. 40 squared plus, I'll let 50 be B. BB equals C squared, which is what I'm trying to find. I don't know the longest side. So if 4 squared is 16, then 40 squared is 16 with double O's attached. And if 5 squared is 25, then 50 squared is 25 with double O's attached. And then I have C squared. 16 plus 25 is 41 with a double O. That equals C squared. Square root. And I'm looking at 60-some yards because if that was a regular old 36, it would be 6. So anything, so if it was 3,600, it's going to be 60-some. And that's bigger than 3,600. So I'm not taking a calculator because I don't need it. All right. Problem 10. Find the perimeter. Wait a minute. It's a poorly worded problem. So let's see. Is this all we're doing where that's just 10? What a terrible, awful problem that I got from another person. If that's 10, then I'm assuming what they want is their perimeter is 10 plus 10 is 20 plus 16 is 36. So I guess that's the answer? I don't know. I don't know if we were supposed to find that chunk right there, which would be 6, making the whole thing 42, but that's not even an option. So I'm not sure what was going on with that problem there. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But it is what it is. All right, problem 11, another poorly worded problem. Find the measure of angle x. It's actually side x, but, it is what it is. To the nearest tenth. Now, I like this problem. This is what we're talking about. See, if I'm trying to find x, I do know that x is attached to this, what I'm going to make a blue triangle here. X is the longest side of the blue triangle. My problem with this blue triangle is I know that your 9 but I don't know what that guy is right in the middle there. However, if I look at this green triangle, I have two sides of a right triangle, which means if I find that missing side, I could use that missing side in the blue triangle to find x. So I'm using Pythagorean Theorem twice. So let's do the green triangle. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. C is 13, it has to be. I'll call you A, I'll call you B, because I don't know what you is. 5 squared plus b squared equals 13 squared. 5 squared is 25 plus b squared equals 169. I'm going to keep it all green, just like Kermit the Frog does. Subtract 25 from both sides. Subtract 25 from both sides. Cross u out. B squared equals 169 minus 25. 144. Is b all by itself? No. What's in the way squared? How do you get rid of the squared? Square rooted. And b equals 12. So now I know that you are 12. And if I know that you are 12, then I now have enough information in this triangle right here to find out that missing side, which I'm going to call C. So I'll call you A, I'll call you B again, and I'll call you C. A squared plus B squared equals C squared is going to be 9 squared plus 12 squared equals C squared. 9 squared is 81. 12 squared is 144 equals C squared. 81 plus 144 is 225. Now, why is that such a wonderful number? Because if you square root it, 225 is a nice exact 15. That was a fun problem. I like that one. That's a good one. That's a keeper. Problem 12. Draw a vertical line and a horizontal line to make the line D the hypotenuse of a right triangle. This looks familiar. This looks familiar. Here's a vertical line, and here's a horizontal line. Okay. Count the spaces to find the lengths of the two legs. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. Use the Pythagorean theorem to find the length of D, which is the hypotenuse of the nearest tenth. Easy. A squared plus B squared is going to equal C squared. I'll let you be A and I'll let you be B. 4 squared, a fun game, plus 6 squared equals C squared. 4 squared is 16. 6 squared is 36. That equals C squared. 16 plus 36 is 52 equals C squared. Is C all by itself? No. What's in the way? Squared. How do I get rid of squared? Square rooted. And I know that the square root of 59 or 49 is 7. And so 52 is a little bit bigger than 49. So if the square roots of something a little bit bigger than 49, it's got to be a little bit bigger than 7. So how about you? No calculator needed. My calculator's all up here. Problem 13. How far is the plane from the flag at the base of the tower? So I need to find out. This is fun. Okay, so I need to find out how the distance from here to there. I can do this. So the plane is 5,000 feet in the air. Okay. So this length right here is a mile and another mile. Okay. Each mile is 5,280 feet. So 2 miles is going to be 10,000, 560 feet? So what I have, and I'm going to redraw that picture down here and make it a little bit smaller. What I have is a perfect right triangle, as you can see. Perfect. 10, 5, 6, 0, 5,000. I need to find C, the missing hypotenuse, and that'll give me my answer. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. You could be A, and you could be B. So 5,000 squared plus 10,560 squared is going to equal c squared. All right. 5 squared is 25. When you square something with 3 zeros attached to the end, you double the amount of zeros. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let me scroll down because I know I'm going to run out of room when I try to find out what 10,560 squared is. So let's get out our handy dandy calculator. 10,560 squared. 111 million. $111,513,600 is going to equal 600, I said? Yep, is going to equal c squared. That's supposed to say c squared. I don't know why that little line showed up. I must have made a dumb little mistake. If I add, what was that, 25 million to it, 2, 5, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, enter, I get 136,513,600. That equals c squared. Is c all by itself? No. What's in the way? Squared. So square root that whole thing. I'll hit the little square root button, and it gives me something to the tune of 11,683.9. 11,683.9 is going to be 11,684. Cool. So if you're flying an airplane and you're 2 miles away from the airport and you need to find out the exact distance from you to the airport, now you know what to do. Oh, life's answer is finally resolved. Right, use the Pythagorean Theorem to find the distance between the 2 points. So we've done this 2 times now. Let's do it a third. I need to find that distance right there. I don't know how long that, if you've been wondering the last couple times we did this, like why can't we just count the blocks? If it's a diagonal, I can't count the blocks. If it's, horizontal and vertical like this guy, I can. So I know that's 3 because I can count up 3 blocks. I know that this is between 7 and 1. So it's going to be 6, but if I count it over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I can actually count the blocks. When it's diagonal, I can't. I can estimate, but who wants to estimate when you can actually do some math? So what I have to do is I have to find C, the longest side. I'm going to write out my Pythagorean theorem because it told me to. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. I can call 3a, I can call 6b, so I have 3 squared plus 6 squared equals c squared. 3 squared is 9. 6 squared is 36. C squared is just c squared. 9 plus 36 is 45 equals c squared. Square root it. Now, I know this is going to be between 6 and 7. I think it's going to be B. But just to make sure, what am I doing? 45 square root. Yeah, I was right. Of course I was right. Why do I even doubt myself? Oh, boy. I'm my own worst enemy sometimes. That's a lit song. Oh, no, one of these distance problems again. Oh, boy. Well, I know what to do. I'll just draw a nice line between that red dot and that red dot. I know that I can, let's not use blue. I can make that a line. I can make you a line. I can count you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I can count you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you seem to be the longest side of a right triangle, so I'll make you C. And I'll write out a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And I'll make you A and I'll make you B. And I'll say 5 squared plus 7 squared is going to equal c squared. 5 squared is 25. 7 squared is 49. That's going to equal c squared. Let's add those up. 74 equals c squared. Let's square root it. And I know square root of 74 is going to be in between 8 and 9. But I'm not sure exactly what it is. So 74 square rooted is 6 or 8.6 rather. So there you are, problem C, or letter C rather, 8.6. Rather. Said rather too many times there for my own comfort. Who am I, Dan Rather? I don't know what the square root of 751 is. 751 and take the square root of it is 27.4. Now, if I'm rounding that to the nearest integer, 27.4 is closer to 27. It's in between 27 and 28, but it's closer to 27. Similarly, with the next one, I'm estimating it to the nearest tenth, which means 1 decimal. I don't know what the square root of 1.55 is, but I see here that it's 1.24. So if that's 1.24, and it's a bunch more. It's irrational, so it's going to be going on forever. 1.2449, blah, 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 blah. The nearest tenth would make it 1.2 and keep it at 1.2. No 5 or above, give it a shove. 1.2. That's the end of that one. There are 12 steps in this staircase. Just like in a whole lot of programs, there are 12 steps. Find the distance from point A to point B. Ugh. All right. I don't know why. Ugh. It's not that bad. It looks like each step has a diagonal distance right there. I'm going to call U C. Why? Well, because it's the diagonal. It's the hypotenuse. I'm using good old Pythagorean Theorem for like the 1 billionth time today. There it is. 7 can be A. Doesn't matter as long as the longest side is C. 10.5 is going to be B. Square it equals C. 7 squared is 49. 10.5 squared. I feel like I should know this, but I don't. I do know it. It's 110.25 equals 110.25. That's going to equal C squared. Add them up, and you get 59.25 equals C squared. Is C all by itself? No. What's in the way? The square, so square root it. The square root of 159.25 is going to be 12.61. So I'm going to make it 12.62 because it's 619. So this length right here is 12.62. Now, that's one step. How many steps do I have? 12 of them. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to hit times 12 right here in my calculator. Okay. And after I multiply that by 12, it gives me 151.43. So I'm going to leave it 151.4. And I'm dealing with inches. And so there you have it. So although at the beginning, the problem looks pretty frustrating, it's not. It's just Pythagorean Theorem, and then you have to do a little bit more. So that's 18. Is -4 a perfect square? No, because you can't square root it. No. It's from a movie. I just don't know what it is. Find the square root of it. Find the negative square root of 49 over 324. I don't know what the square root of that fraction is, but I do know that if I take the square root of 49, I get 7. I don't know what the square root of 324 is. So 324 square root is 18. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? See, if you're taking the square root of a fraction, you can take the square root of the top, the numerator, you can take the square root of the bottom, the denominator, and just keep it as a fraction. Isn't that something? Ain't that something? The square root of 8.41. 8.41 is 2.9 exactly. 2.9 exactly. 2.8 is less than 2.9. Remember, that symbol right there is less than. That symbol right there is greater than. And that symbol next to it is a good old equal sign. You should know that one. No calculator needed here, friends. You see, the square root of 25 over 49 is just like what we did in problem 20. Just, the numbers are friendlier. The square root of 25 is 5. The square root of 49 is 7. 2 sevenths is smaller than 5 sevenths. If sevenths was, if you were to cut your pizza into 7 slices, people do that, and you have 2 pieces, well, that's a whole lot less than 5 pieces. And I don't want to be invited to that party, that's for sure. I'm never invited to any parties anyway. Oh, is this still recording? Kids, we're just moving along, aren't we? How high is this kite? Well, it looks like a right triangle. And so I'm going to write out Pythagorean Theorem again. You are the longest side. I don't know what U is, so I'm going to call you B. And you could be A. 105 squared plus, I don't know, squared equals 145 squared. I think that that's 1, 1, or is it 1, 0? Remember we did 10.5 a couple problems ago? I was like, oh, I feel like I should know this. This is why I feel like I should know this, because 10.5 and 10 or 105 squared are going to be very similar. So I'm going to kick myself once I find out what this is, because I just did it. 11,025. So I was on the right track. But just like life, my insecurity is just told me no. I don't know what 145 squared is, so I'm not even going to pretend. 21,025. Now, I love these numbers, and you will see why very soon. If I subtract 11,025 from 21,025, look how things line up perfectly. Look at that. B squared equals 10,000. B all by itself? No. What's in the way? Squared. What do? Square root it. What's the square root of 10,000? 100. 100 what? Feet. Done. Well, there's a whole lot of Pythagorean theorem. I hope I don't see another problem, a real-life Pythagorean problem again. Oh, look. Again. A quarterback throws a 15-yard pass to a receiver at the sideline. How far did the quarterback actually throw the ball? All right. Well, here's the quarterback. He's 9 1/3 yards, or we'll just say 9.3 yards away. So I'm going to set up a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I have to find c. So you can be a. And instead of doing 9 1/3, I'm going to do 9.33. I'm going to put 2 3s there because why not? I don't know what b is, but look at that. It's football, American football. And in American football, these are yards. So there's 5 yards, there's 10 yards, there's 15 yards. So the pass that he completes, although goes 15 yards down the field, that's not really how far he threw the ball. That's what I have to find. So 3.99 squared, 9.33 squared. It is getting late. 9.33 squared is going to be 87.04. So I'll just do 87 because that rounds. Plus 15 squared is 225 equals c squared. 87 plus 225 is going to be 312. That equals c squared. Is c all by itself? No. What's in the way? Square. What do? Square root it again. And the square root of 312 is going to be 17.66. So I will say 17.7, 17.7 yards. Okay? So even though it went down 15 yards down the field, he actually threw it 17.7, almost 18 yards. Cube root. When I'm asked to find the cube root of something, I have to do something times itself, which means what times what times what is 1. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. These again, these are actually really friendly. The square root of 96 is going to be greater than the square root of 42 because 96 is bigger than 42. Okay. The square root of 15 is, I don't know what the square root of 15 is, but I know the square root of 16 is 4. So this is going to be like 3.8, 3.9. What I do know is pi is 3.14. So this is going to be greater than. 2 greater thans in a row. All right. Tell whether the number is rational or irrational. Explain. Rational means it could be written as a fraction, or it could be a terminating decimal or a repeating decimal. Terminating means stop, or it could follow some type of pattern if it is repeating. So since that is a repeating decimal, that's rational. I don't know what the square root of 10 is, but it seems like a whole lot of these problems that we did, when we took the square root of a number, it was either a really pretty answer or awful. I don't know what the square root of 10 is. 10's not a perfect square. So I know this is going to be a mess. Don't believe me? Type it in your calculator, and you're going to get a mess. You want to make a ramp with the given height and length. The length r of a hypotenuse of a... Wait. Is the length r of a hypotenuse a rational number? So this is wonderful because we could... Well, the numbers here actually aren't friendly. I was hoping the numbers are friendly, but they're not. 18 squared plus 41 squared equals r squared because r has to be c. Okay? 18 squared... I feel like I did that one already in this packet, but... We've done so many squares and square roots that I'm losing track of what we've done. 18 squared is going to be 324. 41 squared is going to be 1,681. That's going to equal r squared. So add those two numbers up. You get 2005. It's going to equal r squared. Is r all by itself? No. What's in the way? Squared. How do I get rid of squared? Square root, square root, square root. I get a messy number. I don't care what my answer is. I don't care. All I care about is if the answer is a rational or irrational number. Well, in this case, it's 44.777226355, blah, 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 blah. So is the length of a hypotenuse? Oh my gosh, is it a rational number? No, because B/C means because R is about 44.7772263, and I don't want to run into my face, so I'm going to stop right there. Okay, one more page. 3 more problems and then we are done. Estimate to the nearest integer. My guess is either going to be 20 or 21, but I honestly don't know what the square root of 430 is. So 430 tilted sideways, square root, 20.7. So this is going to be, if I had the right button, negative 20.7. The nearest integer means the nearest number without a decimal. Negative 21. Okay. Which number is greater? Well, I don't know what the square root of 91 is. But I do know that the square root of 100 is 10. So the square root of 91 is going to be smaller than 10. So which number is greater? 11. because the square root of 91 is going to be less than 10, and 80 or 11 is bigger than 10, so 11 is bigger. All right. Seems appropriate that I think the first problem that we did was a problem like this. Maybe that was the third problem. I don't know, but here we are at problem 33, which is 66 problems short that Jay-Z had. He has Beyonce now, so he's in good shape. Queen, they call her. Let me see. I don't know how long that is, but I do know that you're, what, 1, 2, 3, and you're also 1, 2, 3, and I have to find the longest side, which is C. So 3 squared plus 3 squared is going to equal D squared. 9 plus 9 equals D squared. 18 equals D squared. Square root. The square root of 18 is going to be less than 5, greater than 4, but where exactly are we? 4.24, so 4.2. 33 problems. It's going to be a long video. Enjoy.